This is Radio Japan, NHK World Network Tokyo. It's 9 hours Japan time, midnight UTC. I'm Takahito Kobayashi with the news. And headlines: the Japanese government plans to express remorse and offer an apology for its former colonial ruler of Korea in a joint document to be issued when South Korean President Kim Jong-un visits Japan next month. North and South Korea, the United States, and China will resume peace talks on the Korean Peninsula in Geneva next month, after a suspension of 7 months. And the U.S. Federal Reserve Board has decided to cut the key interest rate by 0.25 percentage point to 5.25%. Now the main news in detail. The Japanese government plans to express remorse and offer an apology for its former colonial rule of Korea in a joint document to be issued when South Korean President Kim Jong-un visits Japan next month. President Kim will begin his 4-day visit on October 7th. On this occasion, Mr. Kim wants to settle the issue of the past history between the two countries. The joint document to be issued at the meeting of Japanese Prime Minister Kobayashi and Mr. Kim is now being prepared by the two countries. Tokyo wants the Japanese Prime Minister's statement to the South Korean people to be based on one made by Prime Minister Tomiichi Murayama on August 15, 1995, the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II. The Japanese government plans to use the wording, "Japan, through its colonial rule and aggression, caused tremendous damage and suffering to the people of South Korea." It summarizes a past history by stating that in a spirit of humility, the Prime Minister will express the feeling of deep remorse and deliver a heartfelt apology. To this, the South Korean side is expected to express its intention of building future relations on overcoming the past. Under instructions from Mr. Obuchi, the head of the Consular's Office on External Affairs, Seiichiro Noboru, is visiting South Korea on Tuesday to coordinate the final contents of the joint document. North and South Korea, the United States, and China will resume peace talks on the Korean Peninsula in Geneva next month, after a suspension of 7 months. The South Korean government sources announced this on Tuesday. Earlier this month, North Korea and the United States agreed to resume the 4-way talks. Little progress was made in the previous 2 rounds of talks due to differing demands as to what the agenda should be. North Korea demanded that the issue of a U.S. military withdrawal from South Korea be discussed. Japan will provide $3 billion of loans to South Korea to help small businesses that are suffering from the currency crisis. The loans will be provided by the government-funded Export-Import Bank of Japan. Prime Minister Keizo Obuchi is expected to announce the plan when South Korean President Kim Jong-un visits Japan next week. The funds will be used by the South Korean government's financial institutions to provide loans to small and medium-sized businesses. The funds will also be used by electricity and gas companies that import resources. The latest plan is an addition to an earlier promise in May to provide $1 billion of loans to South Korea. The U.S. Federal Reserve Board has decided to cut the key interest rate by 0.25 percentage point to 5.25%. The board's Open Market Committee on Tuesday voted to cut its benchmark federal funds rate for the first time in 18 months. The discount rate was left unchanged. In a statement, the committee said that the slightly lower federal funds rate should not be consistent with keeping inflation low and sustaining economic growth going forward. Wall Street investors appeared to be disappointed with the 0.25 cut. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 28 points lower at 8,080 points on Tuesday. Officials of the Japanese government and the Bank of Japan have welcomed the fund's decision. Officials of the Japanese government and the Bank of Japan have welcomed the Fed's decision. They say the cut indicates that the United States is willing to stop economic stagnation in other countries. The United States is now expected to ask Japan for further economic stimulus measures. G7 finance ministers and central bank governors are scheduled to meet this weekend to discuss economic policy coordination. Now, here is a frequency notice. You are listening to Radio Japan, broadcasting on 11.705 MHz, being relayed to eastern part of North America via Sackville, Canada. This transmission is also relayed to Europe via Skelton, England, on 6.155 and 6.180 MHz, and to Central Africa via Ascension Island in the Atlantic on 9.665 MHz. Listeners in Asia can also hear this transmission until 0:15 hours UTC on 11.815 and 13.650 MHz. Now, other news. Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party says it will do its best to see revised financial stabilization bills clear the lower house of parliament by Friday. On Tuesday, the LDP presented its draft outlines of the revised bills to two opposition groups, the Democratic Party and the Peace and Reform Network, which said they basically agreed to the LDP's plans. One effect of the new bills would be to place the failed financial institutions under state control before they are taken over by other banks. The scheme could also be used to tentatively nationalize other banks which apply for it. The LDP reached the agreement on the outlines after weeks of negotiations with the opposition parties. In a separate meeting, another opposition group, the Liberal Party, said it opposed the bills because the planned system could be applied to solvent institutions. China has ordered enterprises to send home foreign currency illegally held outside the country by Thursday. The Director General of the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, Wu Shaolin, told a news conference on Tuesday that the measures are critical to protecting China's economic growth. She declined to estimate the size of the funds involved. China has reportedly lost several $1 billion to customs fraud alone this year. But Ms. Wu ruled out a devaluation of the Chinese yuan, saying that it will do more harm than good. The instruction will not be applied to foreign currency that is used to finance trade. Japanese three companies, including Sony and Toyota Motor Corporation, will set up a joint venture to offer a low-cost data communications service using fiber optic networks. A leading Internet accessory provider, Internet Initiative Japan, will be a partner in the venture. The new company will begin providing service next year at a lower cost than Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation. The service will be limited to companies in major cities across Japan. The U.S. and British telecommunication firms WorldCom and British Telecom have already announced the plans to enter the lucrative data communications market in Japan. The UN General Assembly agreed on Tuesday to extend the term of the High Commissioner for Refugees, Sadako Ogata, by 2 years. Ms. Ogata, aged 71, has headed the UN Refugee Office since 1991. Her position has been extended by 2 years, rather than a regular 5-year term. A London-based daily accused the UNHCR in July of incompetent management and dubious accounting. UN Secretary General Kofi Annan denies the allegations and expressed support for Ms. Ogata's extended term. Ms. Ogata told the reporters in Geneva that she wants to reform her agency so that it can provide help to more refugees. Japan's petroleum wholesalers are to cut oil production by up to 20% from October. The wholesalers say that the demand for light and heavy oil has fallen sharply, reflecting Japan's prolonged recession. Idemitsu Kosan Company says it will cut production by 20% in October from the same period last year. Other wholesalers will cut production by 3 to 10% from October to December. The wholesalers say they will take market conditions into account before deciding whether to continue the production cuts next year. The ruling Cambodian People's Party and the two main opposition parties have agreed to continue holding talks. The three parties, including the Royalist Hun Sen Pek Party and the Sam Rainsy Party, held their first working-level meeting in Phnom Penh on Tuesday. The three parties agreed to urge the National Election Committee to check the ballots cast in the recent election. They also agreed to hold their next meeting on October 5th. Officials of the three parties say they did not discuss the formation of a new coalition government and the recently formed National Assembly. The head of Taiwan's non-governmental organization charged with negotiating with China, Ku Chenhu, says the two sides will discuss a broad range of issues, including politics, at next month's meeting. Speaking to reporters in Tokyo on Tuesday, Mr. Ku said he would like to thoroughly discuss a variety of issues in order to improve relations with China. China is strongly calling for a dialogue on the reunification of Taiwan with the mainland. Mr. Ku also said it has been determined that he will meet with Chinese President Jiang Zemin, hinting at the significance of the coming high-level meeting. Discussions between China and Taiwan will be held for the first time in 5.5 years in Shanghai on October 14th. Now to end the news main points once again. The Japanese government plans to express remorse and offer an apology for its former colonial rule of Korea in a joint document to be issued when South Korean President Kim Dae-jung visits Japan next month. President Kim will begin his 4-day visit on October 7th. On this occasion, Mr. Kim wants to settle the issue of the past history between the two countries. North and South Korea, the United States, and China will resume peace talks on the Korean Peninsula in Geneva next month, after a suspension of 7 months. And the U.S. Federal Reserve Board has decided to cut the key interest rate by 0.25 percentage point to 5.25%. And that's the news from Radio Japan. I'm Takahito Kobayashi. Next follows our weekday magazine program, Radio Japan, 44 minutes. So please, stay tuned.